what you have to do is outsmart your problems. And I know you might be a bit confused by hearing that because you might think, well, a problem isn't a person. It can't think. It doesn't have feelings. So how can I outsmart it? That's the root of the actual issue you're having when it comes to solving problems. 99.9% of people not only solve their problems, solve in quotes, the wrong way, they also confound their problems. They make their problems worse. Okay? Because the process most people go through, which I'll explain, makes it 10 times worse. If you learn this, you're not only going to learn how to solve your problems as far as getting girls, making money, all that stuff. You learn how to solve the problems that have been aching you for your entire life. You're never not going to get this advice anywhere else. I guarantee it. If you see somewhere else, call me a fraud unless they copied off of me. And I know this works because I've used it myself to make money, physique, sexy, whatever. And I've also helped a lot of other people do this as well. It's really not that complicated, but no one understands it. All right. So I better see some notes in the comments. Better see you taking notes. Okay. Better leave a like. Because I'm first going to teach you the primary problem here. Okay. This is the entire problem with people's solving of problems. This is what your parents did. This is what your teachers did. All of these people who have no idea what they're doing, this is what they've been doing. So everyone thinks, let's say they think, well, I don't have a lot of money. That's my problem. They think the problem's external. So this is them, and this is the problem. They always see the problem as outside of them. So let's write outside. This completely ignores the problem because the problem is always internal. And I know that might be something you've heard before, but you have to understand the vicious cycle this can create later on, okay? But first, I have to explain to you the anatomy of the mind. Now, I know this might seem a little bit complicated, but it's not really that complicated. I'll explain this in a very easy to understand way. So this is outer world, which you could say your sense experience. So when you touch things, when you talk to people, etc. And at first, you go through a bunch of filters. So you have your 5% filter, which is what your conscious experience is. This is what you do in your day-to-day life and think, oh, well, I'm going to move this pen up and down. This is your conscious experience. Truthfully, that's only 5% of what your mind is doing because you have about 70,000 thoughts a day, and 65,000 of those are subconscious. You don't even know what's happening. So, and why that's important is this is 95% of you. So this will always bubble up to the surface and influence the 5% experience. So as far as solving problems, you're going to see how that's relevant in a few seconds, but let's first go over the aspects of the mind. So first you have the persona. So think about this like the face mask you put on for other people, and everyone has a persona to some extent. So let's say you're in a room full of people who like the color red, okay? And you really like the color blue, but you're just like, well, hey guys, so I actually like the color red. I think the color red's really cool, but you're lying. But you're just then saying that to make other people happy. That is your persona, okay? That's like the face mask you put on, and that's a major issue for a lot of people, especially younger people who are in school, because they get influenced very easily by social media and all those other things. So you, who's on social media a lot, and witnessing other people get mocked for certain things, you have a very strong persona, which is a bad thing, because you're basically not even a real person at that point. You're just a manufactured person made up of all the people you're around, which sound a good thing. Then now you have your ego. Now, ego is a little bit confusing because when you say ego, a lot of people are like, oh, well, he says he's good at basketball. He's a big ego. No. I mean by ego is your conscious mind. So again, I want to move this pen up. That's conscious, the conscious mind. Okay? And this is primarily how you experience life. Now, we're going to dive into the 95%, and this is really where most of your problems lie, okay? So you have the collective, unconscious. So this is, I'm not going to get too far into this. It's not really relevant here, but let's say, for example, the hero story. You all know the hero story, right? The hero starts at the bottom, then he goes all the way up to the top. This is an archetypal story. What that means is literally everyone, whether you go to an African tribe where there's a bunch of people being cannibalized, they have no food, they're all, starving, but they're still tall because they eat mostly meat. Or, billionaires who want to destroy the world, right? That person down here, and that person up here. Well, in a way, that's like this because, well, they're cannibals, I guess not, whatever. Okay, the point is, they're completely different stages of life, completely different areas. They don't know each other. They don't care about each other. But they both like the hero story. We have access to this collective unconscious which all humans share. And my theory is that it's also influenced by your ancestors. But in any case, everyone likes a hero story. All societies have the bride wearing white and the groom wearing black. These people don't know each other. How does that happen? And you see other symbols that get shared in societies. For example, swastika. Everyone associates swastika with Nazis, the Nazi logo. But the truth is that swastika has been used in a long time ago in Iran, India, America. All these places use the swastika. But these people don't know each other. How can they share the same symbol? Because it's a shared archetypal image. Now you see that with a bunch of other things. But in any case, and keep in mind symbols, because that's going to be important for later. But let's move now to your shadow. A shadow is your repressed version of yourself. So let's say you really like Justin Bieber for some reason. But you know that everyone thinks that would be homo. Like you'd be gay if you like Justin Bieber. What you're going to do is repress it. Most people just repress it. Like, well, I don't actually like Justin Bieber. This is what they say for themselves. It's not just a persona that they're trying to condition themselves by saying, well, I don't actually like Justin Bieber. I think Justin Bieber sucks. I don't actually like Justin Bieber. I don't like Justin Bieber. I'm running away. I'm running away from Justin Bieber. I don't actually like Justin Bieber. That goes to the shadow. That's reposited to the image that of themselves that they don't want to accept. The thing is, it doesn't leave. Never leaves. It just stays down there, and as I'll explain, all of your problems are a result of unrest down to 95%. So, I'll explain more about this later, how things bubble up, like I said, but I have to explain these other aspects so you can have an idea of what we're actually talking about. So, animus and anima. Most people say men have an anima, women have an animus, but I think everyone has both in some sense. Now, for you men, the most relevant one is going to be the anima. Now, the anima is your image of woman. So an example of someone with a bad image of woman are incels. You know, the incels on incel forums will think like, well, women are just money-grabbing whores that care about looks. Like those guys. Everyone thinks, oh, well, they just have bad external experiences with women. And that's true, but that's a result of an internal issue. That's a symptom, not the actual root. Okay? And you get a poor image of woman from heartbreak. Maybe your mom was a certain way, sister was a certain way. And this also influences the way you, like what you like in a woman. So for example, if your mom's really sweet, never swears, none of that other stuff. When a woman starts swearing, it's a bit like, what are you doing? And women aren't supposed to do that. And vice versa, if your mom swears a lot, then, if a woman swears, then it's not really that big of a deal to you. And this affects you in your own mind because everyone has a male and female brain, okay? Male, female brain. So when you use aspects like logic, assertiveness, dominance, that's your masculine side. Then if you start being nurturing, care for others, and you're more creative, start being creative, that's more feminine. Now obviously for men, you have to lean on one side, or just to lean on more on the other side. The point is you need both of them to be in harmony, working together, right? Now the animus, same thing, but a male version. And the unconscious is basically just all the stuff going on in the background. So that's like your 95%. That's like a wasting all the whole. Now, why did I talk about this? Why is this relevant for your problem where you're failing in school, you don't have a lot of money? It's because this feeling of not having money is a result of a problem here, unrest. Remember, the whole point is you have everything working together. But when you have unrest, when things aren't meshing together, you end up having, it communicates via symbols. The mind communicates. It's always symbols. Like think about your dreams. Your dreams never make sense. Like, oh, why am I running a car with a bear? We flew off a cliff. Like, what the hell's going on? Because that's how the 95% of you actually thinks. So you have to decipher it. So it goes up like, oh, I have a problem. It talks to you. And then, why did I make an arrow? And then, your conscious mind takes it, and if you don't actually engage with it, you just let it go on naturally, it will end up manifesting into a external problem. So, say you have a problem down here, and I'll make an example later. You have a problem down here, it goes up to the top, and then you're like, well, I need more money. Now, the key thing here is that you're not actually going after the roots. You're just going after what you think is the actual problem, which will never actually be the problem. 99.9% of the time, it won't actually be the problem. And when I say this creates a cycle, this is what I mean. Because you get the money, like, oh, I got money. Like, even if you do, because it's really hard to work when you have these problems, but you'll get the money. And like someone could give you $10,000. You get the money, like, whoa, money. You'll be happy for 5 minutes and be like, well, I'm not that happy. I don't know what to do. Maybe I need more money, or maybe I need a girlfriend, or maybe I need to do this, maybe I need to do that. You're never actually going to solve the problem. It's just going to be circles. Go around in circles. And it's just scary because most people go their whole entire lives just in circles. I have a problem. Well, I have another problem. I have another problem. Another problem. They never actually treat the root cause. It's kind of like the medical industry. I mean, they give you a bunch of pills, but don't teach you how to actually prevent the disease in the first place. And of course, it's because they want money, but in your case of the mind, you're just shoving like money, girls, all those other things. I'm not saying these are inherently bad, and I'm not a Gnostic moron, but the point is that you are essentially just shoving pills down your throat. That's all you're doing. Not going anywhere. Now, one thing I've neglected to mention thus far, but is extremely important, is the plug. This is something I add to the model because I think it is absolutely necessary. You have imagine your mind isn't actually contained in your brain. It's external, but let's just say it is, right? Imagine your brain and there's a plug on the outside, like an outlet where you plug in like a computer charger or something like that. That is extremely important. And I'll go over it later because you first have to understand this for that to actually work. So now we're going to dig at the unrest. Dig at the problem deep down. We're going to go after the root. So X represents the problem. I put it in quotes because it's never actually the problem. But before this, you have to understand communication with symbols. So I already touched on this a little bit. The mind communicates in symbols. But it's not really helpful when you see a bear, when you're in a car with a bear and you drive off a cliff. I mean, what is that supposed to mean? You have to talk to it. And I'll explain what I mean. So imagine Squidward in your mind. You see Squidward in your brain. Like, hey Squidward, how are you doing? Like, SpongeBob makes my life miserable. He's my neighbor and I hate it. All this other stuff, right? You can talk to Squidward in your own brain. This is because every single thought you have, every single thing that you can possibly imagine in your mind is a character. And a lot of people are going to go at you like, whoa, this is weird, like, you're talking to yourself. This isn't I mean, first of all, most people who are successful talk to themselves to some degree. I mean, usually it's just NPC bots who don't talk to themselves at all. But also, do you want to solve your problems? Because how can you ever solve your problem if you don't actually understand the problem? This is how you understand the problem. And it's beyond just a character. Because you can understand, okay, yeah, I can talk to Squidward because it's a character. You can talk. I can talk to my mom in my mind, all this other stuff. But beyond that, you can talk to this. Now, in reality, or I guess quote reality in some sense, is just two sticks put together. It's like a T shape. But we know this sounds just two sticks put together. That's the cross. That's a sign of Christianity. That's a cross Jesus was crucified on. A symbol of conquering of death. Through God himself, it became man. So you realize how this thing that's in reality, quote reality, is just two sticks, can mean so much to so many people. That's an example of symbols at play. This is how it works. A simple thing can have so much meaning because your mind attributes meaning in some way. In order to decipher the meaning, in order to understand it, you have to communicate with the symbol as if it was a person because it has so many, it's like everything's a character. It has emotions. It has feelings. It's all contained in symbols and characters. It's all characters. And you can talk to characters. So, let's say your problem is not having a girl. Let's say that's what you think your problem is. That's your quote problem. That's what you think. Like, oh, I don't have a girl. My life sucks. Okay. Example. You can do this with literally anything. It could be about grades. Could be about problem with your mom. Could be a problem with dad. Could be not being good at 2K. I don't care. It could be any problem because you realize every single problem you have is a result of a much bigger issue. So this is a sequence I've literally seen. Okay, this is a real sequence. No girl, and then you look at the image, no girl. You can talk to words. It's a symbol. Think of a word like a symbol. Like, okay, No girl. Why? Well, there's a bunch of people with no girl. I mean, why do you feel so bad when not having a girl? And use logic. That's a logical question there. A bunch of people don't have a girl and don't have any problem. They're celibates, like monks and whatnot. So why do you care? Like, oh, well, it's because I'm lonely. I want a girl to be with. I'm alone. Right. So, literally, the first answer opens things up so much, doesn't it? Because having no girl is like this much of a problem. And being lonely is like this much of a problem. So you already see how this is creating something much bigger than just what you think is actually the problem. I mean, do this. Most people go 90 years of their life, however long they live, without doing this a single time. Think about how crazy that is. And I just did in 5 seconds. So lonely. Okay, well, and it's the same question, There's a lot of people who are lonely, and they don't really care. I mean, they're actually happy with being alone. Well, why do you care about being lonely? Like, oh, well, no, my stick, fell off the phone, but I'll remember. I had it there for a reason. Well, I'm lonely. It sucks because, I don't like myself. I'm a loser. Okay? That's something a lot of people would say, something along those lines. And you realize it's an even bigger issue. And you really get to, in this, you go even further. Like some girl could have called him a loser at the playground, and that is stuck with him his whole life. That's trauma. His mom didn't give him enough love. His dad didn't give him enough love. You can go really deep into this. And we started with the question of why do you care about not having a girlfriend? Lonely, much bigger issue. And I think I'm a loser. That's an even bigger issue. Now, we're going to pick this as the root for the sake of example. You should keep going, but let's take this. That's the root. And by the way, don't censor yourself. If you think, oh, well, that's not actually true, the first thing you think of, no. You thought that for a reason. Write it down. I don't care if you think, oh, well, does it actually mean I'm depressed? I don't care what it makes you think. By the way, I'm not like a registered therapist or whatever. I think I have to say that legally. But you need to do that. Need to take whatever your mind gives you. Because that's the honest response, especially if it's super fast. It's not your conscious mind. That's your subconscious mind. That's your 95%. That is all of this communicating with you. And that's what you have to really go after. All right? So, you go, well, I'm a loser. That's what you think, right? The reason why you care about not having a girl is because you're lonely. And the reason why you care about being lonely is because you're not even comfortable with yourself. So let's extract this and let's look at the picture if you actually got a girl. Let's say, like, I don't have a girl, and he somehow got a girl and he's not being a loser, right? Because he figured a loser. You would have a terrible relationship, wouldn't you? Because you would just still think, like, I'm lonely, I'm not good enough. You'd be needy. And you end up breaking up, and then you have a much bigger issue. So that's the cycle I was talking about. Even if you get the girl, it doesn't really matter because you have these underlying issues that undergird that issue of not having a girl. Now, you found the root. I'm a loser. I don't feel comfortable with myself. That's a much bigger issue. That's a whole entire self-image. You think you're a loser, so you want other people around you distracting. You want a girl to make you feel better about yourself so you don't feel like a loser. But you're always going to feel like a loser because you're not actually addressing why you feel like a loser. You're not shifting off of that. You're just running for that. You're getting a girl to run from it. You're making yourself not alone to run from it in this example. So what we have to do is accept and shift. Very important. So you find the root. And the root can be a lot of different things. The root can be you being lonely. The root can be this. The root can be this. The root can be something beyond that, But take the root you, smart. A root you've derived. And this is your focus, by the way. So let's put eyeballs. And draw eyeballs better. So where you're focusing, right? So first, I want you to focus a little bit on the roots. So I want you to accept it. And what is accepting it? Okay, yeah, I think I'm a loser. I think I'm not good enough. I think all these other things. Now, you may think that's counterproductive, but the truth is, the opposite is running away from it. The thing is, every single thought you have is like that. See how it's like a little speck? You can barely even see it. But when you start running away from it, it starts becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't have enough space, but it just gets huge. And you realize you can get rid of a speck like that. It's just whatever, it's just a thought, right? But once it starts turning into this massive, dark figure, which is what the shadow actually is, you can't just flick it away. You have to give it a lot of attention. So you confronting it, you actually having some balls, it's the best way to get rid of these problems. So you have to accept it. That's your confrontation. And then you reframe. You play with it. You treat it like it's like a toy. You just throw the ball around, right? It's like a ball. You're just throwing it all over the place. And you reframe it. So you think, well, I'm a loser or whatever. It's like, well, doesn't really matter, does it? I don't really care. Being a loser, and that could change. You know what? Actually, and this is where it gets really productive. You start thinking, well, yeah, I think I'm a loser, and I'm lonely, and I have a girl, but guess what? This time I have that I'm alone, I can use to better myself, and then when I am around other people, when I'm around a girl, I can actually do well for myself. Boom, you've reframed it. You've taken a 2D object that seems like a disaster and turns a 3D object and see different angles of it. And you're like, oh, this actually isn't that bad. And then once you do that, once you feel comfortable with the thought, once you can play with it, you want to shift your focus. And this is, most people you're going to go to who are professionals or whatever, they're going to kind of they might not even get to the root. They might not even tell you all of this. Because I have a friend that's doing a psychology class, and they're not really teaching him this stuff. But once you do what I just said, got to shift to your desired outcome. Now, I'm going to say something very important here. You cannot shift to a negative statement. Okay, when I say a negative statement, I mean a statement of not doing. So, for example, let's say you have an issue with watching porn. Let's just say that's your issue, right? You can't think, okay, well, I accept the addiction. You have an addiction. Actually, the addiction, it gives me an opportunity to grow myself, etc. Then you go, well, you know what? I'm not going to watch porn anymore. I'm not going to watch any porn anymore. I'm not going to watch porn anymore. That doesn't work. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to give you a little diagram here. So what I want you to think of, this is an analogy. Think you're feeling like fire. It's like a stove. And your thoughts, these are two separate things, is water. Now, when you boil your thoughts, boil water, thought charged with feeling. So I'm not going to watch porn, You see this frantic, that's feeling, that's some energy, that's some fire, and you're thinking about not watching porn. Guess what you're boiling and thinking about? Thinking about porn. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to go relapse and go watch porn. So never build on a negative. That's a negative statement. I am not going to watch porn. That's negative. It's a no. Never build on negative. Never, never, ever do that. Because the way you stop watching porn, like this is a great example. Think about the last time you had no desire to watch porn, you didn't care. It's not when you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to watch porn. No. It's when you were doing something else. Like that day you went on a trip with your family, you spent all day outside, you went swimming in the pool, whatever the hell, You played baseball that day. I don't know. You went to sleep and you wake up the next day like, I didn't feel like watching porn at all yesterday. It's because you had your focus shifted. Once you give your focus to porn in any degree, that's when you relapse. So think about it like this, example I've used before. All of these things like junk food, fear, worry, porn. It's like these little things at the bottom. And when you're all the way down here, when you're just focused on negatives, you're always going to look at it. And so you're always going to do it. But let's imagine, start building up bricks. Like, okay, I'm going to focus on working out. I'm going to focus on, making money. I'm going to focus on my relationship with people. I'm going to focus on fixing my mind. Focus on God. Get all the way up here. And guess what? Your line of sight is just this. Actually, ignore that part. Your line of sight's all the way up here. It's up here. And you're no longer worried about this. You don't need to think about that stuff because you built yourself up. You're no longer worried about stuff on the bottom. You have to build on positive. This is positive statements. For example, instead of saying a negative statement like, I'm not going to watch porn anymore, you can say a positive statement like, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to get jacked. I'm going to win. I'm going to be a winner. I'm building up. And that tells you what you have to focus on. And when you're focusing on desired outcomes. So think about your ideal self. Think about what you want to be. If you think you're the best lawyer ever, if that's what you want to be, you're the best lawyer ever. I am. I am. Never I will. One of God's names is I am for a reason. God's name is not I will. Because I will doesn't really matter. You know, when you tell your brother or sister or sibling, whatever, oh, can you go wash the dishes? And you're like, oh yeah, I will later, I will. Do you have much faith that they're going to do it? No. Whenever someone says, I will, you know, it's like, yeah, I will. Yeah, sure you're going to do it. But when we talk to ourselves, we say, oh yeah, I will be successful. I will be a winner. You're saying I will. You're never going to do it. But say, I am. I am. You are doing it now. You're living it now. That's focus. That's actually shifting your fire. That's what you're putting on. So when you think, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out. I am this. I'm the guy that's jacked. Even if you're flabby, even if you're fat, I am the guy that's jacked. You feel it. That's your fire. And then you put the thought, being jacked, vapor, the steam. The steam is inspired action. So guess what? When it was so hard to go to the gym, oh, I can't go to the gym is so hard, blah, 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 blah. Now that you're doing this, now that you're shifting your mind, you are the guy that goes to the gym. So it becomes easier to go to the gym. Sure, it's not going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to go to the gym. It's not like you get dragged and teleport in there. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is it's going to be way easier. And once you build up this muscle, it's like a muscle, this skill. Build up, build up, build up. Then you can do whatever you want. And when I say want, I mean what you truly want. What is your desired life? So that, that's worth, I can make a course and charge like $2,000 for that. Probably more, to be honest. That's really the blueprint to not having a terrible life. So you're welcome. I better see notes. You better leave a like. Better do all this. Better subscribe. Better. And that's your payment to me. That's the deal. Actually, the biggest deal is actually changing your life. Now we're going to talk about plugging in. So this is something like what I just told you. Okay, so so this whole concept of making your problems internal instead of external is already esoteric. That's already, most people don't do that. Most people don't even think about that. And then you go deeper into understanding the anatomy of the mind. Even less people understand that. And actually digging properly, even less people understand that. And then the fire and water thing, you charge your thoughts building on positive instead of negatives, even less people think about that. So have fun finding that information somewhere else. And then even less people talk about this. And that's plugging in. You have a plug. A part of you has a plug. And I mean that as an analogy. Because you're made up of the body. Then the soul. So the soul has your mind. The anatomy I just told you is a part of your, it's like the mind, right? Then you have your spirit. Now your spirit is your higher self, highest self. And your spirit is in direct, can be in direct communion with the Holy Spirit, which the Holy Spirit is God. So this is your way of being in communion with God, right? And this is extremely important because whether you like it or not, whether you want to blaspheme the Holy Spirit, when Jesus said, Jesus is God, they say, oh, well, I'll never forgive the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. What it means by that is the unacceptance, the state of non-belief in Jesus being God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? I know the handle should go on, but I don't care, right? Doesn't matter. That is being out of communion with the Holy Spirit. And remember what I told you earlier, being out of sync, not having synergy in the mind, that is where your problems come from. The root of your problems always just bubbles up in different ways. But guess what? Whether you like it or not, whether you like the Holy Spirit or not, whether you like Jesus or not, you have a spirit. It's truth. And your spirit will always be dead, which is your highest self. That's literally like screw your mind, screw the money, screw all this stuff. The spirit's like all the way up here. And the spirit can be in communion with God, the Holy Spirit. Connect with it to get a relationship with God. You're saying no, your spirit's going to be dead. And you're always going to have this internal contradiction in the mind. So, for example, everyone says, well, murder is wrong. And we all agree on that. But let's actually get into the justification of why murder is wrong. For me, I could say it's the moral commandments, the moral laws are rooted in God's nature. God is the lawgiver. Murder being wrong is a law, in a way. So I don't have any contradiction in my own mind. I can justify it. But let's say you don't believe in God. Say you hate God, like, oh, my grandma made me pray, so I don't like Jesus anymore. One part of my mind is like, oh yeah, murder's wrong. Murder's definitely wrong. I mean, obviously it's wrong because you have a conscience that God gave you, so you know murder's wrong. The other hand is like, well, you don't really believe in God or any of these other things. I mean, how can you justify murder being wrong? Like, well, it just is wrong. That's a fallacy. It's a circular argument. It doesn't make sense. Like, well, that doesn't make much sense. It's like, remember, you have 95% of your mind that's unconscious. You don't even know this is going on. Then your mind's like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, it does make sense because it does. You have this big internal conflict. And this is more than just morals. This goes for logic, the meaning of words, the purpose of life. Just how does the universe even get here? I mean, there are literally a theoretical infinite amount of questions that are causing unrest in your mind because you don't believe in God, if you're in that situation. And this unrest leads to problems. So sure, when it comes to making money, when it comes to all these other things, these really minute things, like I make money, I'm hot, I got muscle, all those stuff, but it's not that hard, okay? All these things you can solve doing what I told you. And then you get ahead of a lot of people. But at the end of the day, if you really want to be happy, if you really want to actually get somewhere in life, somewhere really meaningful beyond the physical, you need to fix this contradiction, because this causes unrest in the mind, which will always lead to problem. And there's two situations you can be in. Either you can be at the bottom, where you don't know any of this stuff, you just have a bunch of contradictions, you're just a moron. Or you can get a little bit smart, start doing this, start learning stuff, but you're still blind at the end of the day. At the core, fundamental level, you're still blind, because you don't believe in God, you're not in communion with God. You will end up developing a God complex. Now, what God complex is when, go here, it's basically when the ego just completely separates from the mind. So, like, your ego's all the way up here, then all the other aspects of your mind are all the way down here. Remember, the ego's conscious mind. So, like, yeah, I'm the best. And you have all this other stuff disconnected. So, guess what? If you get really good at this, you master it, make much money, master all this other stuff, you end up developing a God complex, most likely. And guess what? That is probably one of the worst ways to be out of synergy with your own self. So, yeah, you can do all this other stuff, but you're actually going to end up exactly where you started. Think of, in a way, God like being the glue for your mind. Keeps everything together, keeps everything in synergy. And then from there, you have your own tasks to do. I'm not saying that when you say, well, you know what, I believe in God, then like money's going to spawn in your bank account. But at the highest, like, there's different realms that you have to deal with, right? And the highest realm is the spiritual realm. Then you have the feeling. Then you have the thought. Then you have the physical. Like, yeah, you're going to do pretty good here. Like, you're going to do pretty good here, with what I told you, but not really going to get up here. Because in order to do anything there, you need to be in communion with the Holy Spirit. There's God. Because that realm is occupied. That's where the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are. And of course, the Son came down and became like one of us. So we can trust in Him. It's another subject. Of course, the angels are up there too. But the whole point of life is to move up. To be in ultimate communion with God, which is being in heaven. So if you aren't doing that, I mean, yeah, sure, you're going to be able to get some money, which is just this. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, it's not really that much of an accomplishment. Just everyone's a complete moron. So yeah, you feel, you think, you make money, car, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying those are bad things, because, I make money, I'm hot, I got muscles, I'm not a loser. But it's not my life. It's got a lot more than that. And that's how you really solve your problems. Look higher. Then there's all these little issues like, oh, my grades, oh my God, the money, oh my God, the paycheck. All this stuff becomes very little things. And when those things become little, you don't care about them anymore, and then you can focus on building stuff up. Then you make money. Then you help other people. Then all those other things. This is how you solve for problems. No one else is going to tell you this, because everyone else is wrong. If you really want to level up, join the Discord. The link is in the description. Subscribe for more amazing videos, like the video, Instagram, all this other stuff, right? And check out the video. I'm so good at this.